New developments this afternoon in the NFL, seemingly interminable controversy over its handling of domestic violence cases. Just hours ago came the word from NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell that Anna Isaacson, one of the few women in the organization, will take on the newly expanded role of VP of Social Responsibility. Goodell has also drafted a trio of female domestic violence experts to advise the league and oversee education, training, and support programs. The news comes after several days of fast-moving developments, including news that former Ravens running back Ray Rice, who over the weekend made his first public appearance since the release of the now infamous elevator video, is expected to formally appeal his indefinite NFL suspension today. Meanwhile, it's unclear whether convicted domestic abuser and Panthers defensive end Greg Hardy will play in next week's game after being benched at the last minute on Sunday. Hardy appealed his conviction and is now awaiting a jury trial. Over on the West Coast, California Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom is calling for the San Francisco 49ers to forgo due process and bench defensive lineman Ray McDonald while a criminal investigation into domestic abuse allegations plays out. Commissioner Roger Goodell failed to show up at the 49ers game on Sunday, and so he missed out on the Goodell Must Go banner flying over the newly constructed Levi's Stadium. A women's rights group plans to fly the banner again tonight for the Colts-Eagles matchup in Indianapolis. Due process is also the reason 2012 league MVP and Vikings running back Adrian Peterson, indicted and released on felony child abuse charges over the weekend, will be on the field practicing this week. And the team says Peterson is expected to play this Sunday in New Orleans. We expect more details during a Viking news conference coming up at 3 p.m. Eastern. On game day, this ongoing storm of controversy sparked a series of scathing condemnations and emotional commentary from the sports world.
You can't be the kid to make them do what they want to do.
That's correct. Thank you.
Thousands of things we have learned since then. And now we're to the point, the only thing I'm proud about is the team that I played for. They did the right thing.
Yes.
Take them off the field.
Are we supposed to simply separate a violent game on the field from violent acts off the field? What exactly does the NFL stand for?
So the question is, with mounting accusations and calls for resignation, is Goodell's Hail Mary today enough to change the game? Joining me now to discuss are the sports brothers, Ed Sylvain and Jeff Fox, who can be heard daily on WQAM radio right here in Miami, old friends of mine. And thanks, guys, for being here. And Ed, I'm going to start with you. Can the NFL fix its PR problem by creating a position that is in charge of social responsibility and putting a woman in that position?
I think it's the first step, Joy. As I thought about this and I read this report earlier today, the NFL, they're just a bunch of people who just want to play football. They just want to worry about football, and that's it. Everything else, social issues, domestic issues, I know they wish they'd have nothing to do with it. But I think this is a first step, just as they did years back when they got a committee to, further look into concussions and the health and players after they've left the league. This is the right step for them. Putting a woman in charge, that's another good PR move, I think, from the NFL.
Yeah, and Jeff Fox, I mean, it feels like there is a lot of PR being done. They're trying to put forward what few women they have to sort of say, hey, we're going to be socially responsible. But you can't re-raise grown-ups, right? You can't re-raise grown men who have already been acculturated their entire lives. They are now adults. You now have Adrian Peterson, speaking of acculturation, apologizing, saying he's sorry about the hurt. He said, I'm sorry about the hurt I have brought to my child. But this issue of spanking, it goes way back. Many people are on both sides of the issue. Obviously, according to the law, he went too far. But can something like a social responsibility czar change that, the culture of people's individual ways of running their families?
Well, it's difficult. I mean, a lot of us have experienced that growing up as children, being, they call it, you spare the rod, you spoil the child. A lot of people still believe in that. I still believe in it. I just think that Adrian Peterson may have went too far with it. I mean, that child was 4 years old. There's no need to go that far and leave marks or open wounds or welts on a child like that. But certainly, I think that it is each parent's right to control the way they raise their child or they discipline their children. And I think that should stay that way.
And, Ed, it does feel like right now for Roger Goodell, it's almost like he's running around trying to plug holes in a dike. And every time he turns around, there's another case of another person with allegations of domestic abuse. And they're trying to sort of run around and handle these all at once. Is this situation spiraling out of control?
I don't believe it is. When I look at the NFL, we're looking at a couple of thousand of players that are set, that have a job to do every Sunday, and they are the only people in the world that do that job. I don't like the notion or the fact that we kind of look at those players and kind of make it above society. You know what I mean? Kind of make it like that is the rule. Oh, that's an NFL player. That's a guy that got into trouble, that did this or did that, and then make it as if the whole league has a problem. There are some issues. The NFL is working towards fixing those issues, and I think they should. And we should also remember that the NFL is basically a microcosm of our society. There are people in that league that get in trouble, that have had a bad past, and there are also good people in the league as well.
Yeah, and Jeff, there's also there's an obvious issue that we're talking about. At this point, 4 African American men that are now in the spotlight, and there does seem to be this damage control mode of trying to make sure that any allegation, any instance of domestic abuse is taken care of. But at what point does the NFL sort of have more on its hands that it can handle if it's also trying to conduct essentially social services in the families of these players? Is this just a systemic problem that the NFL simply cannot keep playing its star players if they have even a hint of this kind of abuse in their backgrounds?
You're absolutely right. This is something that should have happened a long time ago. These recent rash of arrests and mugshots and even owners behaving badly is simply bad for the NFL. This is big business here, and this is all about making money and about big business. The reason that Roger Goodell and the NFL don't want to suspend their players, it's a money issue. The NFL wants that box office appeal. As a matter of fact, football is king in America. We all love it. But the fact is that this has been an ongoing problem for years and years and years. This is bigger than Ray Rice. This is bigger than Ray McDonald. This is bigger than Adrian Peterson. As Ed said, taking that, establishing that social position, with the lady in charge is a terrific first step. But the NFL has bigger issues. You've got players that are passing away, players that are committing suicide. It is such a huge problem right now. But at least the best these players can do right now is try to avoid being arrested, try to avoid these situations. And I commend Roger Goodell. He's got a handful of issues on him right now.
Well, I mean, do you commend him, Ed, or do you wonder if a guy who's making more than any of these players, he's making something like $40 million a year, he's got a huge contract, he seems to be weathering the storm at this point. But at what point is this a leadership issue? Is it that you said it's a microcosm of the country, but it's pretty overrepresented right now with people who have charges of domestic abuse, unless I'm reading society wrong? At what point does this have to go up to Goodell? And the secondary question is, can a person whose job is the social responsibilities are hope to rein in a problem when the guy at the top isn't really facing consequences himself?
Well, I definitely think Roger Goodell, if, in example, the Ray Rice situation, if he knew or if he saw the video, as he's claiming he hasn't seen the video, we all knew that when that 2-game punishment came down, that was just crazy. That was lenient. You get guys who were suspended in the league for more games for, having drugs or smoking weed or anything like that. When you see that, when that video comes out, he had to know about the video. Obviously, we saw the after effect. We didn't see what happened on the elevator until recently. But if he is being that complacent, or I don't know even what the word is to describe how he kind of just backs off of that and decides that 2 games is enough and you'll miss some money, then yes, he needs to be removed from his position. But the social czar, as you spoke about that, how does a social czar change something that somebody has been going through their whole life? Adrian Peterson released a statement recently, said he was only disciplining his child as he was disciplined. How do you change that? How can you sit with, if you had to each and every football player at that rookie symposium that they go through every year and say, hey, if you want to beat your child, don't use a switch. I mean, how do you do that? And some people may look around like, well, I've never been beaten with a switch. So I had people on social media asking what a switch was.
Right. Yeah.
It's a very difficult position.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jeff, I mean, you guys are on the radio. Listen, the fans don't seem to be responding to this with the same kind of urgency that we in the media and a lot of people who are around the issue of domestic violence and fierce advocates for protecting women are really passionate about this. But are the fans responding the same way? You guys are on the radio every day. What are fans saying?
Oh, they're saying a whole lot. I mean, we had a show on it when the whole Ray Rice situation happened. It exploded on radio, and we had police officers calling. We had people on both sides of the fence calling, some condemning Ray Rice, and even some, believe it or not, condemning his fiancée, who they thought may have escalated the situation. Domestic violence is bad on both sides, whether it's the male or the female, and that's the bottom line. As Ed said, that's something that is society's problem and now appears to be the NFL's problem. Something I want to point out, Joy, is that Football is such a violent sport that these guys have to get emotionally charged and enraged to engage in this type of a sport. It's almost like a gladiator sport. The problem a lot of these guys are having, they have to decompress when they get out of the arena. They're having a problem with that. I think Roger Goodell would do well, as well as Maurice Smith, the head of the Players Association, to get together and then try to come up with some sort of concept or some sort of solution to this very serious problem.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't re-raise the players. You also can't re-raise the fans. I mean, you saw some of even the female fans out there wearing Ray Rice's jersey, and it's just a weird, mind-boggling disconnect with some fans thinking, you know what, they just want to watch them play football. They don't care what they're doing at home.
Yeah, it was interesting. I watched that on Thursday night when the Ravens took on the Steelers, and it was kind of uncomfortable, I would say, to see females fans out there supporting him. But then again, they're like a lot of people who have called into the show. There's like, hey, I mean, Ray, he made a mistake. We hope hopefully that was a one-time occurrence. It shouldn't have happened in the first place. But if it was a one-time occurrence, get the help that you need. His wife, get the help that you need. If you want to stay, stay. If not, get out the relationship. But it was very interesting to see how fans have reacted to it in Baltimore and around the country.
We have to re-raise the whole country. Ed Sylvain, Jeff Fox, the Sports Brothers. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.